Okay, I'm working on my 2003 Ram 1500. It has the 4.7 liter engine in it, and we're going to be replacing the engine in this. It's we're already determined that it's bad. We have at least one cylinder with no compression whatsoever. I've got a replacement engine out of a 2004 Dodge Dakota, and you can get these out of other vehicles as well, and this is quite a bit cheaper than getting one from a Ram. It's supposed to have 124,000 miles on it. We'll have to probably put some valve cover gaskets, an oil pan gasket, and we're going to figure out if there's any other differences. I don't believe there is much. I know that the fan up here is different, a few things, but we'll determine that as we go along with this. Here's just a look at it. Said it's supposed to be a low mild engine, so we shouldn't have any issues with this. I was looking at the rear seal. It actually looks pretty good. Somebody may have already had tackled that at one time, so I won't have to mess with that, which is good. Just see, I've got comes they pull a lot of these seatbelt straps, and we just got it kind of strapped around the exhaust manifolds here. You definitely want to make sure you got a couple straps and get it good and secure, and just hooked onto it with the cherry picker there. And said I got this from eBay. They have a lot of engines, have money back guarantee, so you can find one if you look around through salvage yards where you live if you want, or I said eBay is always an option. It was $1,000 total, tax, delivered, everything, so really couldn't beat that for this engine with such low miles. There's a lot on there that you can make offers, and sometimes you can score a deal, so you just have to look. But regardless of whether it's a Durango, Dakota, Cherokee, whatever, these engines, you want to try to stick close to the year that you have, but most of this stuff is going to be the same. These engines, I believe from 99 up to 2007, are basically the same engine block, with the exception of a few changes. You can modify some stuff, but for the most part, if it's either a 16 reluctor ring or a 32, so that's the main difference that you would have. You want to make sure you have the same reluctor ring that's on your crankshaft, so you don't have to do that kind of tear down, but you could still make that engine work if you wanted to swap that ring over. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, and just start removing some stuff on the truck here. Okay, with the hood up, the first thing that I like to do is just get in here and go ahead and remove this bumper. Now you're going to have some wire connectors coming in here that maybe go into your fog lamps, and so you want to disconnect those on each side. But you just we've got a couple of bolts coming through here, and there is a plate that these bolts are going through to hold these still. So you only have to get a hold of this nut on this side, and the same thing over here. Get it with some WD-40, and we're going to go ahead and remove these. I'm going to pull this whole bumper out of the way here. Okay, I'm just using an 18 deep socket and zipping these off here. We've got these off of this side, and you'll notice that this will just come right out. And like I said, you want to get those wires either disconnected before or after you want to get a hand on this, make sure it doesn't just fall down and pull on your wires. But we got this side, and I'm just going to work on the other. Now, one thing I'll say, as you're taking stuff off, put every single bolt and nut back to where it came from if you possibly can, so you're not having to try and figure out later on where something came from. So that's all we're doing. Just taking these, and we'll be able to get this Okay, on the fog lamps, there's a one connector that's right under here. You come over here on this driver's side and look up. And right here. Now it's attached to the clips on right there. You can see this clip. And you got to disconnect it. So you got to push this red lock, push it back, push it down really hard here with your thumbnail, and then pull these two apart. So now this is unsnapped from the bumper and disconnected, so we'll go ahead and finish pulling this one right here out, the studs, and we'll be able to get this bumper off here. Okay, and you can see how these flanges just go around here. So when you put it back, you just put it back around that, just kind of holds it, but it's not snapped, at least not on this one. So once you get those out and that disconnected, this whole bumper just pulls off. So it clears up a lot of room. You're not having to bend as far. It takes you 5 minutes and it makes things a lot easier. Now, we're just going to go ahead and take this and stick it back onto our bumper here, so they're out of the way and we're not going to be losing them. And that's the way that you try to do everything that you do when you're removing stuff. Put every bolt, every nut where it goes if you can. If not, then label it or keep track of it. Okay, we're going to focus on this cross member here. Take you a marker, just put you a couple marks. It just helps you to get this latch back into place without getting it out of adjustment. 10 millimeter, and go ahead and take these two completely out. Okay, again, put your bolts back. This will flop down here. You want to carefully remove this clip so you don't break it. It just has, you need to squeeze those in with something, or at least get one side squeezed in so you can pull it out. Use a little pick tool or something. And then we're going to take this and just pull it back out of the way. You could probably leave it right there, but the main thing is don't get it in the way up here where you're going to be damaging it. And you probably could leave it at this point. Okay, on the other side we've got, these are 13s. We're just going to loosen those up. You don't have to take them completely out. These here are also 13s. We're going to put a mark, kind of like we did on the other, just to make sure it goes back to where it's supposed to. We'll just put a little mark here and then a line here just to kind of get it right back where it was. Okay, with these rubber grommets loosened up, those 13s loosened up, you'll be able to pull this up and off here. We're just going to go ahead and take these two and take these two over here. Okay, and with those out, should be able to lift this up and off of here. Okay, well, it is hanging on this bolt right here, so I will have to completely remove that bolt right there. Okay, and there we go. Now we got that up and off of there. And we can probably just leave this in place. We're going to go ahead, so we're not getting mixed up with these bolts. Put the bolt back in there that we took out. Okay, and again, put your bolts back so you're not losing them. Now you can see how this opens up a whole lot of room here. You got the bumper, you got this little cross member out of the way, and it's a really good design on these. The way it's set up makes it very easy to get in here and do stuff. At this point, we're going to go ahead. I want to get the radiator and stuff out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and get us a drain pan down here and get all this fluid and stuff drained out and get that poured up, and then we'll move on from there. I just like to get everything out of the way up here. Now, as far as the condenser goes, we shouldn't have to disturb any of this. If you can work around it, you do have to remove some stuff, but there's plenty of room the way it's designed with it over here that we can just leave this in place and take the compressor stuff loose. I don't even know if it's got any air in it. if it was even working, so I need to check and see if it's even got AC. It could be that you know, if yours is not working, then don't worry about it, just take it all loose and reconnect it. Okay, so we got it draining here. We just popped the hose off, which is very easy to get to from over here. You can see right there's the spout, and that makes it much easier than fiddling with that spout, drain spout. We're going to be replacing these hoses. Don't take any chances with old hoses. If you're doing doing this much work, get you some new hoses, because these things, you can't really tell it, but they get thin and dry rotted, and next thing you know, you got some problems. So another thing, you know, with the bumper out, I was going to mention, I mean, you can see how much room you have here. You know, as far as crawling under here, you're able to get under here and do everything you need to do really without lifting it up. So taking that bumper out of the way, you know, really, it's really easy and just makes it way easier for everything. So we're going to let that drain, and then we'll start taking some other stuff off up here. Okay, while I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and take this top hose. We just got these spring clamps, and you're welcome to put back some screw clamps if you want. It definitely, they're a little easier to mess with. Take a big screwdriver and push these off. It'll make it way easier. Just push on that. They will really glue themselves. That and there's coming loose, you can see. And this in the same way. And I'm not reusing this, so if it really gets stuck, I'll just cut it. Just don't cut into where the aluminum is there. You could get a leak. Just make sure, just barely cut through this and just split it off. Okay, this twisted off without too much incident. Let's give it a little twist, and it's coming off of here. So I didn't have to cut it. And just leave your clamps on there if you want to reuse them. So you got those. So we're just going to keep working away at it here. I think the next thing we'll do is go ahead and remove this overflow tank. And just so you know, you can get these pretty cheap online, and you can see, like, you can't see nothing through this thing. I'm probably going to be getting another one and putting on here. So they're not very much, $20–$30, and then you got something you can actually see and see what level it is, because you can't tell nothing with it like that. Okay, 3 10mm, holding it down. Disconnect this hose. Disconnect this hose right here. And again, a pry bar makes easy work of prying those stubborn hoses off of there. Okay, with that one off, we'll go ahead and put these 10mm back so we're not losing them. Okay, and you can see how this also bolts down, but it has these clips on the bottom that go into that fan shroud. So that's all there is to that. Okay, and then as soon as this gets done draining, we'll get this poured up into some jugs so no animals are getting in it. Up here we got our transmission and power steering cooler, and we're going to go ahead and work on this transmission cooler. Take a 10mm and we've got a couple. We got this one down here to remove, and then we got these two right here to remove. We're just going to take this loose, and so I'd normally just kind of like let this stuff dangle down out of the way a little bit. Again, put your 10mm back where they go. You should never have any bolts sitting around that you don't know what they go to, sitting around loose. Okay, for under here, for the power steering cooler, you've got a 10mm that runs through, and it just kind of crimps it on here. So you're going to need a couple of 10mm wrenches. I got a couple ratchet wrenches, and we're just going to take this, hold it on one side and loosen it on the other till we get the nut off of there, and then we'll pull that bolt through, and then that will release this, as you can see. Okay, and that's all it is. And there's another one right down here, and we just have to remove that. Okay, and just wiggle this around a little bit till you can get the bolt to pull through there. We got that loose, and we've got the transmission cooler loose. We're going to take one last look. You see how it like sets down on here onto this part of the frame, the radiator. So we have to lift it up a little bit. And it also sets down into like a rubber grommet thing there down here at the bottom. So you see the bottom of it there. So we have to lift that end up as well. But once we've got everything loose, then we can go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to be lifting this radiator, the shroud and everything, and we also got this windshield washer bottle, fluid bottle. It's could be kind of heavy, but if we come over here, you look down here, this is our transmission lines. Those just need to be popped out of those little plastic things. Just pop them over to the left. That's all we're going to do there. Also, we come right in here. We've got a connection for this windshield washer bottle. You can just carefully twist and separate that right there. I don't want to separate it at the bottom of the bottle because it may leak out. And also we've got a couple of connectors here. You can see, pull that red tab back, which is some kind of hard, and there's another one right there that doesn't look like it's got a red tab on it. So just push that down, pull that connector off. So we're going to get those both disconnected there. Okay, there's that. It just goes in there. And just don't forget where it routed under there. Now I could have took this out. It'd been a little easier to get to those connectors and show you, but I haven't made it that far yet. Those are disconnected. Still got to pop those lines over. Oh, and I forgot about this 13 right here. Got a 13 millimeter hiding right there. So go ahead and take that loose. Goes into this part right here. Go ahead and take that completely out. Okay, tilt your radiator that way. Let all the fluid finish draining out. Yeah, this is all completely loose now, and I'm just getting ready. I'm going to lift this whole shroud and everything out of here. Okay, and you can see it all lifted off there. So there's no need in taking every little thing off of everything just to have to put it back. You got plenty of room with this stuff loose. So I think we'll go ahead and finish popping this hose off down here now that we can get to it. We're going to need to get this fan off. You can see that we'll take a look here at our fan. You can see that the difference in these fans, just that this one has a little bit longer of an end on it. Other than that, everything is looking pretty close to the same. I don't think there's going to be like much that we have to change, but we are going to have to seal up the valve covers and stuff like that. And I could do those after it was in, but it's going to be way harder. And I hadn't even looked at the oil pan, but I think that it's leaking. So anyways, the belt looks good on this one, so we'll definitely want to reuse that. So I think we are going to go ahead and get this. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this fan off. Now I'll show you the tool that I got. I just made one with a piece of metal. You can see the holes you have here. There's 4 of them, but all you need to do is get something in 2 of those holes. And I usually do it with the belt on. It's like a piece of angle iron. We'll hold that. I take a big crescent wrench and just pop this thing loose. And I think we'll go ahead and do that next. Oh, by the way, I mean, you can see all the room. See, I can just, if you're careful, you can set this stuff down here. It's not going to hurt anything. You can see all the room. We can get to anything we need here. Much easier now to disconnect and do what we need to do. Hadn't even got the air box off yet, but that's going to be one of the next things as well. This, usually I don't even wind up disturbing this. If I do anything, I'll take it loose and let it set down a little bit if it gets in the way when I'm bringing the engine out. Okay, here's my bar set up. It's nothing fancy. This is a piece of little small piece of angle iron. What you do is you just punch you a couple of holes that are somewhat close to being centered to what the holes are on your pump. And so they're kind of, I left them in there loose just so they'd have a little bit of wiggle room, because it's not super precise. I didn't get them exactly the same, but you just measure from the center of these two holes with a tape measure, whatever, and punch it and drill you out a couple of holes in this to put some bolts, and get it fairly close where it'll fit on there, and just put a couple nuts on it like that. So mine are a little bit loose because it ain't super precise. I didn't drill them just right, but you can see that it fits in there, and we can hold this, and all we have to do is hold pressure as we break it loose. So we're going to get get my crescent over here. It's the only thing that fits this. Okay, so I've got a crescent on here. I'm going to go counterclockwise. I got a cheater pipe on that. We're just going to hold pressure while we break it loose with this. And I've also whacked this with a hammer and broke it loose that way. But usually this cheater pipe gets it. It's not ever been too much that I couldn't get it with this. Okay, and there we got it broke loose. You can see it's just as easy as that. No special tool, just a piece of metal or something that you can fit a couple bolts in there. And now it will just finish spinning off there, no problem. We're going to have to reuse this on the other motor, but it's good to have it out of the way so it's not getting damaged in the process of moving this. That's all that is. It just has a shallow threaded hole. It goes on there. Looks like somebody actually replaced this water pump here. Okay, with that out of the way, we can easily get this lower hose and finish draining anything that's left in here, and we get that coolant poured up. Okay, the thermostat housing here has a couple of 8mm. I'm going to go ahead and take this off just to kind of facilitate getting the rest of that coolant to drain out. Okay, if you hadn't already, go ahead and disconnect your negative cable. And we're going to move on over here. We've got a band right here. Just disconnect this. And then just unsnap your box. Go ahead. Slide it back that way. We'll get this out of the way. And this, I believe, is just setting in here. We can just give it a pull up. There's really no sense in having it in here in the way. We will see if it wants to cooperate. And there it is. We'll just set that out of the way. It clears up even more room. Not a bad idea to replace these heater hoses too, but they're a little bit more difficult to find. Okay, we got a connector back here. That's your air sensor. Give that a push down. And we also got a band right back in the back. You got to reach around through here and get to this. And we'll just go ahead and loosen that up a little bit, and we'll pop this up and out of the way. Let's see, we got a 10mm here. Go ahead and get the one on this side. Okay, then we just come on the other side. We got another one right over here. We'll go ahead and just get that out. Once you break them loose, they're really easy. Just remove with your fingers most of the time. Okay, the band in the back's loose. Both these tins are out of the way. Wiggle it up. You got a hose on the back. Let me show you. Right there. Pull that out of the way. We already got our connector that went on there. Let's go ahead and stuff your rag in there because it's never going to quit dripping while you're working under here. Then we're going to go ahead and pop this belt off here next, and we'll work on getting a few components out of the way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove the belt. Just take you a 15, put on this tensioner right here. Going to push it in that direction and just pop that belt off there. Now, this case, you know, this system's charged. I don't want to have to evacuate my Freon, so we're going to be working around this AC system, and we're also going to be taking this off. There's no sense in draining all of our power steering and stuff. We're going to go ahead and pop the belt off. Alright, so you got a red safety lock here. I went to push it and it just broke, and that happens when they get dry and brittle. So just give it a push down right under that bottom and just work it off of there. So you just push down right there. But the safety lock, I mean, it's really not necessary. It will stay. Main thing is remember where stuff routes. So we got that. Now we also got another connector. This just slides over like that and push that down, and you're able to pull this off just like that. So now we got the AC compressor, the wire connectors. Now we've got a bolt here, and we're supposed to have one here, and we do not. Have to find one of those, and then we got a bolt here. So we'll go ahead and work on taking at least those two out of there. This one right back here is a 13mm. There's that bolt, came from back there. Now we're going to get on this one up here. This one up here is a 15, and it's pretty tight. Okay, and there's that long 15mm bolt out of there. Now this won't usually just come right up. We'll have to wiggle it up and out of there a little bit, or maybe take a little screwdriver and push it like up and off of there. Okay, I'm going to leave that sitting there for a minute. You can see how I wiggled it up. Just be delicate. Don't want to be busting the AC compressor. And I believe what I usually do is wind up taking this loose over here, that 13mm, and so we got, it sets down in here. I think that's all that's really holding it though. I usually wind up unclipping this and moving it, bungee cording this over, but we'll figure it out. Main thing is just to keep from having to evacuate the AC. See, the next thing we are going to get on is going to be our power steering. We're just going to take it loose, and let me show you where we've got a bolt there, there, and I think there's another one right down here. So I want to say that we just have those three, but I could be mistaken. But I believe it's just these three. We'll find out here. I'm going to take those three and see what happens. I believe those are 13s. Yes, those are 13s. We'll go ahead and take those out and see what happens. Okay, and this drops off there. So I've done several of these vehicles. I can't remember from time to time. Seems like some have hidden bolts. But anyways, just those three, and then it drops off there. We're just going to Drop it down there. It doesn't seem to be bad. It's not really leaking, so we'll just reuse it. Now the engine I got's got one on it, but we'll save this just in case. Need a spare or something, but there was no problems with this one when I was using it, so we'll just go with it. So we got our power steering out of the way. We've got this loose for now. I think we're going to go ahead and get our heater core hoses connecting in right here. I may have to see about getting some more. I don't like the looks of these, and they're getting really thin. I really am not liking these. We'll see, but this is like one big piece. When you get this like these anyways, this is like connected to this, and it's usually like one big piece, so sometimes they can be kind of pricey, so we'll see about that. But anyway, you can see where they go into the firewall up there. We're going to disconnect them right here and just move them over to the side. That's our next step. Right, we just took those loose and just stuffed those hoses right back up there out of the way. Okay, and I'll also tell you that like these transmission lines, you can see that plastic clip right there. That will be attached to some of the studs on your oil pan. Somebody's already took that loose, but those will have to be disconnected before you go to lifting the engine. Now we've also got some grounding straps over here that I know there's one like right here, if I can show you here. Can't see what I'm looking at, but anyways, there's one right there that needs to be taken loose, or if you don't take it loose there, then you got to take more stuff up here loose. So we take it loose down there, and we're going to get underneath and start getting some stuff done. I think next, I'm trying to think if as other than like vacuum hoses and various things, there's not a whole lot. Now we will have to also start getting some of our wire harness back out of the way, and pulling it back up here out of the way, so we might as well start doing that. We've got our coil packs and our injectors, so we may just go ahead and start doing that and get some of this wire harness pulled back up here out of the way, ready to go on to the replacement engine. Okay, I'm going to start with this oil sensor down here. You do have a safety lock, a red safety lock. Push that over to one side, which would push it what would be up right here, and push down right here, give that a pull off. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to just work our way up here, disconnecting stuff as we go. And it's a good idea to label, number, or whatever, a lot of this stuff, so you're not getting it confused or mixed up later on. And sometimes with these connectors, if they don't want to come loose, get you a pick tool and lift up. Like this one right here is not wanting to cooperate, so to keep from breaking it, I'm going to get in under it with a little pick tool if I can find it. Okay, so you just get in under here, just lift that up, lift that little piece up, and then you'll be able to give it a push back. So there we have that. Just grasp this, and we're going to go ahead and get that. I believe it's a 13. Okay, then we can just lift that up and off there. Like I said, just pay attention to your routing as you're taking these loose and how everything goes and what studs it goes to. We've also got some other, got a coolant temperature sensor, and we've got another sensor right here. We need to get the safety lock, and said sometimes when you pull these up they just break, and there's not much you can do about it. And you'll push it down there if it's going to cooperate. Okay, so you got to get that safety lock back and kind of push down and wiggle on this one to get it to relent, otherwise you could break the connector. And you can pull that safety lock plumb out of there if you have to, and always put it back and get in under it with a little thin pick tool or something. This one here does not have a lock, goes to the temperature sensor. So we're just working this stuff off of this side here. Just going to kind of peel it back out of the way as we get everything loose. I think this is going to get in the way, so we're going to take it off. Got a 10 millimeter. We also don't want to bend it up. One on this side. We'll go ahead and take that off. Okay, so we just slip that off there. Now you'll notice I don't have any screws, nuts, bolts, nothing laying around. Everything is put back where it goes. When we get done, we don't want to have anything come up missing. We're going to push down here, start slipping these coil packs off. Okay, we're going ahead and labeling for our coil packs as a precaution. I'm going to get our injectors. You got a safety lock, and it can be tricky to pop that back up. That needs to pull back, and then we just squeeze it and pull it off there. Okay, these are a good example of where you need to use a pick tool. I'm using this hooked in to get in under and pull up. And so you got to push this back. You can push it back with a screwdriver if you can't get it to budge, but this is like really snug, and even you're supposed to push it down here, and it's supposed to be able to raise that up and over the little nub on the injector. You can see there, but it wasn't doing it, so keep from breaking it, we had to take the little pick tool and get in from under here and kind of pull on it to pull it back. So we'll probably have to do that on several. It seems like these are always a little bit of a problem. So you just take that hooked in on your little pick tool and just pull up. You're just basically getting in front of it and pulling up on that black piece right there, and it just kind of helps to get that off there. Just pulling on that and it'll pop right off. Okay, so for all those I had to use the pick tool. The very back one is the trickiest because it's kind of hard to see back there, but we do have to get these loose, and we're going to go ahead and just label them. Just cut down on any areas. We're going to go ahead and label our injector, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing on the other side as well. We got a little more room on the other side because we don't have this up here in the way. Well, I was going to point something else out before I forget. I spent a good amount of time before I started working on this, cleaning on this engine, spraying it down with degreaser, and you can still see how dirty this is. So don't be afraid to clean it off. It's just going to be less mess you'll have to deal with once you go to pulling it out of here. Okay, it's a good idea to pull the fuel fuse and run this for a minute to get all the pressure off. If you didn't, however, you'll want to be cautious. Get a rag or something over this. But we've got to get this fuel disconnected. There's a safety clip that has to be pushed back first, and you just push it with a screwdriver. You can see, just push it back, and then it just kind of wiggles itself out from under there, and you can see they got a little safety lanyard on it. So just like that, and that just kind of goes under there and locks it into place. Okay, and here's my fuel tools I can use. I also got one of these, and I usually just use this one, I believe. But you can get a kit like this that'll do the same thing. So this thing just kind of splits in half, and you just work it under here and just push up, and it causes those little clips or shark bites that bite on there to release, and then you can pop it up. We'll make sure to get a rag or something just in case it has any pressure, and some safety glasses. Okay, so there's that loose. There was no pressure. And sometimes these older vehicles, these pressure regulators aren't much good anyways, unless you've replaced that fuel pump recently. So we're going to go ahead, see how I just kind of marked everything on this side. We've got all of our we got the fuel disconnected. We got our coil packs injectors. We've got our idle air. Push that clip back. Go ahead and disconnect that. And for our throttle, we've got right there. So we'll go ahead and disconnect that. Okay, after getting those sensors, we just moved over here to this side and did the same thing. Started popping it. Now there's a few of these that go down over to these studs. So just labeled those. We got this one goes down on with this stud. We took that loose. We got a sensor under here that we need to get, and it's kind of stuck, but it doesn't look like there's a lock on it, but it is really stuck. Okay, and with that loose onto there, we can go ahead and just start pulling this one back out of the way, just like that. And this is our PCV. Might go ahead and disconnect that before we wind up breaking this. So anyways, we got this side. We have got most of the stuff other than just the vacuum. We could go ahead and disconnect our vacuums that we've got. We got one right here. Go ahead and disconnect that. Okay, I was getting these cables here. This one just pulls forward and pops off of that. And then your other cable, you just flip it around there and slide it out. So you just push it back and just spin that around and get it out of there. See if I can do this. So now we got both those loose, except for we got a pin right here that we need to work out. We'll get a screwdriver. That slides. There's I think a lock on this. If I can, okay. Now remember, you push right there. You take a little pick tool and you push right below there as you pull it that way. So it's a little clip, and it'll come off there just like that. Now the other one doesn't have a lock because it's being held in by the other side, so you just slide it out. So that's all there is to those. Just remember where they route there. That's all there is to that. So we got those disconnected. I think we're going to start working underneath. We've got about everything we can really do up here for now. Got a vacuum right here. We'll probably need to go ahead and get that while we're at it, but other than that, we don't really have much left. We're going to start working underneath. We'll get these the exhaust manifolds loose and see what we can get done. It's starting to get kind of dark, so maybe tomorrow we can get much more accomplished. Okay, so I come under here from this passenger side and just zip these 15 millimeters off of the pipe going to the exhaust manifold, and you can see where we were at, just right there. And I just slid under here, and they've got the, if they're not too bad rusty, you shouldn't have any trouble. Usually they give me more problems than this, but they weren't too bad, and the anti-rotation tabs were working. We just used about a foot or so long extension and got those loose. So we got this side loose. We're going to slide over to the other side here and just do the same thing. We'll probably come from get at this from the other side, just do the same thing, and then we'll have these exhaust manifolds loose. Now we're also going to be getting back here, and before we go to taking the engine loose and stuff, we'll get a support jack stand or something under this transmission to hold it, because we're going to be unbolting it and everything. So I can see a bolt missing from here, like somebody's been working on this. Looks like a bolt missing up there, but anyway, we're going to get over here on this side and zip those other 15 millimeters off. Nothing to it. And we'll see what else we can get done before it gets dark here. Okay, I'm over on this driver's side, just taking out the two 15 millimeters over here. So the exhaust is loose from the manifolds. And another thing I was going to show you, right here, you'll have, I believe this is connected, I think this was connected to like the oil pan or something. Anyway, there's a connection right here that's already loose. So check that. It may be that it goes back up here, but definitely check like this cable here coming from the transmission. Make sure that that's loose from the engine and everything, that's the lines and everything that are running through here. See, there's another bolt missing up there as well. So it said somebody had worked on this at one time or another, because I'm seeing some missing bolts, but we can find some others. Just figure out what size they are, and it could be that they vibrated out. I mean, that happens. I'll Loctite these every time I put them back together, just for that reason. At least use medium Loctite. So anyway, trying to figure out what the next move is going to be. Really doesn't matter how you do this. I think we may go ahead and start getting some of these bolts out of that's going from the transmission into the engine. We'll start working on that, and so we'll get some support under this transmission back here as well, and make sure we're going to have some wires going to our starter here. But we're just going to disconnect the starter, which there's the two bolts right there, and we're just going to lay that starter down. So we'll go ahead and just work on that next. I don't know what size those are. We'll find out in just a second though. Okay, these 16 millimeter bolts are holding the starter. Get a hand on it as you get the top one. That's the bolts. We just took those out of there, and we're just setting it here on the frame for now. It'll be fine. Okay, I wanted to point something out. I'm able, to get under here at this point, but if you need to, you can raise this thing up a little bit, get some jack stands, or put it on ramps if you just want more room under here to work. But we're just going to go ahead and get under here. I'm fixing to be removing a brace. I'll show you. Okay, so we're back here. You got your your oil pan where your plug is, and then there's this brace right here. You can see we got a couple of 15mm nuts. Now you need to hold the bolt on the other side. You can see there, you need to hold that as you're getting these loose. And over here, same thing. They're going through a different direction, but I think originally they were actually coming through this way, which, because I remember there being difficulty because you got this pipe here. So without moving that pipe up and pushing it, makes it hard to push those bolts out. It looks like somebody flipped these around. So when you put this back, make sure to put them back the way that they're easier to remove. See, this way we can get over here and we can get these out, as you can see, and we can just punch them through this way. So that's all I'm going to be working on here. We're just going to take these two 15mm bolts off of each side so we can get this brace right here out of the way. Okay, now here's a view from the back side. I've got these out. Just getting ready to pull this bar down. And we'll get over here and push these other ones through. Okay, so we'll get a hand on it. It didn't just fall. It's a pretty snug fit in here. I actually have to wiggle this thing out here. But here is what that looks like. Now what this does is when you're removing this piece right here, it allows you to be able to get this piece out of here. We got that brace in there, it makes it real difficult. So we're going to be working on this piece right here. You can see we got bolts come through up here, and we've got one's coming this way. There's supposed to be one here, but it's missing. And over here it's the same thing. We've got bolts coming through just like these here, and we've also got this one. Now we need to get this one out of the way because it makes it easier to get this one up here. So we're just going to be working on these. I believe that these are 15s as well. Yes. So we're going to work on removing this piece right here as well. It's a little bit trickier over on this side over here because there's a few lines of stuff in the way. Okay, I realized that it's going to make it more difficult for me filming, leaving this down on the ground so low, so just got back here and raised it up here, and we're just putting it on ramps. Going to do that on each side. You can see where I got a hold of it there. Alright, I'm just going to show you on this engine so it'll make more sense to you. Now we've just took the bolts that are coming through the flex plate, the 4 bolts, so we've got that unbolted from our torque converter. We removed that lower plate, so all we have left is these up here. Now they're supposed to be a 1/2 inch alignment peg, just like that side. That one's missing, but we'll have one on the other engine. So anyways, those things will pull off, but there's a couple of bolts that come through there where those alignment pegs are, and then as you come up here, we're going to have a bolt coming from the back side, and then we got one here, here, and here. So we just got these here left now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We got 6 bolts left. What I'm going to do is start with these back here. We're going to get us extension and get back there to that. Now I've also got to these by coming from the cab and removing the intake, and then just coming from the back side with the ratchet wrench and getting these out. You could do that as well, or you can just come from the back side without having to remove the intake and stuff. So we're going to get a extension, and we're going to remove this 1, 2, 3, 4. These these bolts coming from the back side here. And once we get those 4 out, these are like the main alignment bolts where these pegs are. Will get us a jack stand or something on the transmission before we go to removing them, because usually it doesn't move because you got those alignment pegs and it's been locked together, and usually it does not move, and you have to go to wiggling this thing apart even after you get all the motor mounts and stuff loose. So that's going to be our next step. Just so that makes sense, we're going to get on the back side and we're going to get to these 4 bolts there, and then we're going to proceed from there. Right, so we're back here and I'm just going to show you where we're going. You can see there's a little black clamp that goes right there, and there's another part of that clamp up there with another bolt in it. That one's already out and missing, so we're going to go to the one that's up above there. I'll show you my setup where we're coming to here. We just got a long extension, little 3/8 swivel on the end. Now you have to be careful if you're using an impact, because it will go to flopping around on you. It can really beat you up if you ain't careful. But we've got a long extension and we're just going back here. We're starting on this side and we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. We'll get up there, and let me just show you how much length we got here. Okay, here's the bolt I was going after up there. Just show you. We're just coming right up in here. If you can see that bracket, it holds this wire harness. So once you got those 2 out, then that loosens that up. And there's my setup. It's probably about a 3 foot worth of extension, and just a little swivel on the end. Just kind of, if you have to, get up here and kind of keep a hand on it as you're breaking it loose. We just come over this piece right here and just go straight up through there, and it's very easy with the impact. You can zip these off here in no time, and there's only 4 up at the top that are kind of hard to get to. And these here, these actually come from this side, so those will do last. Okay, I'll show you on this side. I come up the same way. I've got my extension just laying up there, but over here is real tricky, and I've got the one right there is already missing, so the one that's left is right up here. Now you see I've went underneath this wire here, and I've gotten a hold of that. Now you're going to have to make sure that that stays on there while you get all the way back here with your long extension. This is probably the most difficult one right here. You got these wires and all this stuff in the way. It's hard to get to it. So that's the most difficult. That is our last one to remove. And I'm going to have to make sure that it stays on there good. I've just got it kind of laying. I've got my extension laying up here so it doesn't fall. I'm going to have to make sure to keep pressure to make sure that stays on there good as I'm breaking this loose here. So once you get it, it just zips right out of there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's that one out, and those are the hard ones. Like I said, 2 of these 4 were missing, so I couldn't show you removing them, but just to show you, got this wire here in the way, but right there, see a little clamp thing? That's where we just took that loose. So we have the hard ones loose, we just have these down here now that we're going to get from this other side. Okay, and like I said, I was using a 3.5 foot extension. So if you don't have some extensions, you'll need to get some to get to those back ones there. Okay, another note, like I said, if you don't want to mess with getting the long swivel and coming through the back, if it's just too difficult, you can come up here, remove your intake. You're going to have to remove some stuff up here. and get your intake off. But you can remove this, and then you can come up in the cab here and reach to the back and easily get to those top ones that are the most difficult from right up here. So either way, you know, if you can get it any way that you can. Okay, we're right back here on the transmission. We just positioned us a jack stand right here, and we're fixing to get up here, and I'll show you here in a second. We're going to get up here and start removing these final bolts here from the transmission here. We just want to have this supported. It's really not going anywhere. It's attached back there into the drive shaft, but just to give it some support so it's not falling down and stuff. Okay, we're over here on the side by where the starter is, and we're just taking our 16 and getting on here. And we're just going to work this side loose first. I've kind of got my starter kind of in the way there a little bit, but I've just got it sitting there. You could probably zip tie it or something if you're worried about it falling, but there's really no need in taking it off. So I got this side, loosen it, and we're getting ready. We're going to get over here on this one. You can see, let me get my ratchet over here. We're going to get right up here where that sensor is. And we're just going to do the same thing, start taking that loose. And you may need a little bit of an extension to get in here. These are pretty snug, but we're just going to go ahead and completely remove these two here. This may move around a little bit, but the motor mounts and stuff are still connected here, so I'm not really going to worry about it too much unless it gets in a bind. I just don't want a lot of stuff in the way right now, but I'm going to try to get these completely out, and then we'll go ahead and get up here and start working on these motor mounts and stuff. Okay, I just removed the first bolt from this side over here, and we're going to go ahead and completely remove that one right up there. Right, and there's both of our bolts that go by our 1/2-inch dowels. And while we're here, we're going to go ahead and remove that crank sensor right there. You'll just squeeze down on that back side there, and we should. Sometimes these really like to stick right here, so you may have to work with it a minute. Okay, there we go. That wasn't too bad, but I believe there is supposed to be a safety lock on that. Somebody's probably already been working on it, so they broke it. But they stick on there good enough without that. And I do believe we've got, before we get too carried away, okay, over here on the driver's side, this is our ground. That's going to be a 15 as well, and we want to go ahead and get that. Now, once we get, I'm going to just check a few more of these, we'll get to work on our mounts. Now, the way I always do these mounts, these are 15s, I remove the bolts from the block. Now, it just makes it easier sliding it out. You know, you can do it how you want. If you want to take these, and you could probably get it, but you have to lift it up high enough to wiggle it out of there. I prefer to remove them here, and I'll just Loctite them back. But the other reason for that is the motor I got is out of a Dakota, so they're not even the same mount, so I'm going to be using these, so I'll just take them loose. And if I don't have too much difficulty we'll leave them in place, and then we'll just bolt them back to the other engine block. So let's go ahead and get this ground up here, and then we'll see about getting on our mounts. Okay, that ground is off, and we just put the bolt right back in there. I'm going to get to work on these. These are pretty. We got 4. They're not too bad to get to. There's a couple on this side, a couple on this other side, and I just use a little ratchet, whatever, various extensions, whatever I have to get in here to them, and they're usually not too bad. But we're going to go ahead and take those out. Like I said, I've got this supported, so it's holding the transmission. You know, it's setting on these mounts, and it's not going to be going anywhere. But, you know, we're still going to be cautious with everything. Make sure you got stands, everything supporting stuff. But we're going to go ahead and get on these, and then we'll hop on that other side and work on those other 4. Okay, this bottom 15, I'm using a little bit of an extension with my deep socket up here in the front to kind of get to it a little bit better. And I've gotten this one and this one loose, and now that one right there is loose. And I'm just supposed to get to this one right up here. Okay, I'm still underneath, but I'm just working at this one coming from the front here to get to it. All these are loose now, and I'm just going to go ahead. They're easy to take out once they're loose, or at least they are on this one. I'm just going to finger loosen them on out of there, and I may leave one in just as a precaution until I get the other side completely loose. Okay, what I've done, I took the 3 out. And like I said, these are loose where you can take them with your hand. I've just left that top one right there. I'm just going to leave that in place there. I've got the other 3 out. And we're just going to hop on this other side over here. And we're going to start working on this other mount. We're going to do the same thing. You can see that these are really easy to get to. Most of the stuff on these truck is very easy to get to. You got a lot of room, you know, unless it's 4-wheel drive, and then it's a little bit different ball game. But fixing to get to work on these the same way. I'll get these from the back, and then I'll get on the ones, and I'll just work from the front. I'm just working from underneath here, but there's all kinds of room here. Okay, so just like on the other side, I've just been taking those out. I left that top one. It's loose. I'm just going to leave it there for now. I can easily get to those from the top up here. Now, take the time, if any of these lines are connected to your oil pan, disconnect those. Now, they were already disconnected, but I'm trying to think back. You know, it's been a while since I've removed. It's been too many other vehicles ago, but I believe they are connected there somewhere. So check all that stuff. You don't want to go to lifting this thing up. And so we got that ground wire, we got the crank sensor. I want to say that we've got another one that's back here in the back, but it may be broken already, that goes to the very back of the engine. It's a strap. Let me show you if I can. See, I believe, okay, where? It looks like it's already been removed, but there should be one back in here. It comes from back behind one of those engine heads. There's usually like a strap back there, but if you go to lifting it out, you'll break that. So take that loose. Okay, here it is. So somebody's already broke this, so it's probably been previously pulled out. But this is the strap I'm talking about. It's right there, and it's just got like a 10 millimeter. Just take it loose right there is the easiest thing to do. And that's, I don't believe there's one on the other side, but I would check. to make sure. So we've got, except for those top bolts, we've got everything loose. Now, another thing that we're gonna do when we're separating this, we want to make sure that this torque converter doesn't hang up on to the engine, because it's going to pull it out. It's going to be a really big mess, and don't ask how I know that. But you know, you want to make sure that the flex plate is coming loose from the torque converter as we're getting this and pulling it out of here. But we've got most everything loose. Now we're going to go back up top here. Okay, now I believe we've got a bolt, or we should have one, that's holding our transmission dipstick. And I do believe, or at least it's supposed to be bolted. It looks like it's loose. Maybe it doesn't have a bracket because it's awful loose. Also, this right here, you can see this vacuum is going behind this big wire. You'll just want to get down here and pop that loose from the back of that head there, just like that. It'll come loose, and you can push it around here or whatever to get that out of the way. So, and we may miss something. It's not uncommon to miss one or two things, but we want to try not to. So the other thing we're going to have to do is get a bungee cord up here and get this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and get on this bolt right here. It's kind of tricky to get to, but it's a 13 millimeter right there. That's going to loosen up this fan assembly. We can pop it out of these with that loose, and it'll give us enough slack to pull the compressor over here and bungee strap it out of the way so we can get this engine out. And so I'm just going to do that at this point. Okay, so for this bolt right back here, a swivel works really well for getting around this, unless you want to remove some of this stuff. Okay, we got the red safety lock on the fan. Push that back so you can disconnect this. This is to show you this connector. It had been broken. The tab back here was broken off, so I had to get a pick tool and lift up on this part right here. And the top part broke off, but that's okay, 'cause this part's still there, and it'll be fine. Okay, so I've just got it kind of pulled over here. You know, trying not to get anything in a bind. It's got a little flex in these lines, but try not to bend anything or get anything in a bind. Just got a bungee strap. And I can, you know, still move it a little bit if I have to, but just trying to get it a little bit out of the way where I can get this out of here pretty easily. That should be good enough. So we're going to go ahead and just finish taking out the remainder of the last bolt there on each side, and we'll see about getting a strap hooked up. We're going to go to the exhaust manifolds and just hook it up like I did, kind of like I got over here. Just make sure that they're tied good if you're going to use a strap, or you can use a small chain or whatever's easiest for you. So you could also hook to back here, get a bolt going through that, and come up to the front and hook it up somewhere, bolt it in. You know, ideally just try to get it, you know, leveled out the best you can. Okay, so we've worked this underneath the wires here, and we come underneath, and we got under there and we tied to the rear of that exhaust manifold, as you can see, went through there, and we put a couple knots on it. Make sure you're gonna tie it good. You want to watch out for your coil packs. You don't want to smash them as you're doing this, and it's going to work out sometimes where that stuff may get in the way, so just keep an eye on everything, because you don't want to damage anything. So as we start lifting it, we'll keep an eye on stuff. We're going to go ahead and get up here onto the front and tie it right through here. Through this front right here. We're just going to feed it through there and tie that. And then we'll see what we got. But these are old seat belts. But you can get other straps, you can buy them. These things are really strong. Okay, so we got that where we want it. Like I said, you can hook a chain or you can hook your straps any way you want, or hook you some chains and bolt it. I've done it in various different ways. But we've got it where we want it. We're going to get a hold of it here. And these straps got a lot of slack in them, so I'll have to lift it a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and start trying to work it loose, and we'll say we're going to get under and keep an eye on that torque converter as well, and just start trying to wiggle it loose. Okay, here we are with it hooked up. Now I've got an air lift on here, which makes it quicker, but as I'm working here, I'm just going to be using the crank from here on out because I need to be kind of delicate with it and make sure I didn't miss anything. So I'm going to start lifting it up, and then I'm going to go underneath and kind of keep an eye on it, and I'm going to try to start separating this a little bit. It usually don't want to just jiggle out of there. I may have to get one of my plastic little pry tools and kind of get it started if it doesn't want to wiggle loose. Okay, it may come loose on it on. I've kind of grabbed it here. You can see I've got it loose, but I need to get it completely pulled out from those dowel pins and get it out of that torque converter. I'm going to go underneath and take a look at it. Okay, and you can see that we've moved it at least 1/4 of an inch here. And the good news is the torque converter is not hanging up there. You can see this side over here is still on the pin, but this over here is pretty loose. So I'm just going to wiggle it a little more. Be careful, because if it's not completely level, this thing will go to flopping around and the flex plate will go to hitting the bell housing. But you can always take a file if it does bump it and get any of the burrs off. But you can see it's the exhauster loose, and everything that I can tell is loose. The motor mounts are loose, and we're just sliding it forward, and hopefully it's going to come out straight enough that it won't go to flopping around, and we'll get it on out of here. But this one didn't give me any trouble coming loose. It come apart pretty easy. So we're just going to go back up top, but I have had to come under with like a plastic pry or wedge and kind of start wedging it apart to get it to come loose. Okay, like I said, just pulling on it here and grabbing a hold of this. This thing is completely loose now, and it's just kind of resting on the mounts there, but I have it on the lift and everything is clearing just fine. We're going to go ahead and get it on up a little bit here, and we can pull this over out of the way a little bit, so this is not really a problem. We've got plenty of slack with this without having to disconnect this here. Okay, here we are coming on out with the only thing I had trying to hang up was a vacuum line was caught on my strap there, but everything else is loose, and you see about how high I've got it up here now, and I can come up even more if I need to. See, we're off of the mounts, and you will have some more coolant leak out when you go to moving this thing, so be prepared for that, unless you can stop it up. I just got a rag in there. I need to shift back over to the left though, because I'm coming too far this way. Okay, I did forget to take this vacuum line right here loose, so don't forget that one. Okay, we just got it up here where everything's clearing. Just, keeping an eye on everything as we're bringing it up. watching all the tubes and wires, but everything's pretty well all disconnected, and we just got to get it up high enough to clear our oil pan as we come up here. So we're just going to keep working it forward and raising it as we need. I wouldn't even have to go as high with my lift, but I put my truck up on ramps to have more clearance underneath, so now I got to go even higher. Okay, and here we are coming on out with it, and it will try to swing around on you if you don't have like something to hold it. It'll spin and stuff, so you got to kind of watch that too, so you're not having it spin around and break anything. We got it out of there, you can see. And we're going to go ahead, just get it over here and set it down, and then we'll get the other one, try to get it into place here. But really easy to get these out. You got lots of room. It's just not really bad on these engines. We don't have much to swap over. Okay, so I set it here so it's not just sitting on the flex plate in the back. Kind of try to set some blocks on this. And this is just an old Harbor Freight little moving dolly that I've kind of rigged up to put motors on, but you can just set it on the floor and just put some blocks to hold it still, just to kind of keep from damaging flex plate in case you need it. So we're going to get a hold of this one. Everything looks to be the same on these, the exhaust manifold and everything. I'll have to put this over onto that one. It doesn't have one, but other than that, everything looks to be the same. So we're just going to work on getting this one up and into place. Like I said, the only tricky thing about getting it back in is just getting those 1/2-inch dowels to line up. You can see the one right there, and see how that pulled. One of them pulled out of there, and looks like the threads are a little bit boogered up right there. We may have to take a look at that. Somebody probably previously trying to put the motor in, instead of doing it the right way, they just go to cramming the bolts in there and trying to tighten it, and that's not how you do it. So that's another thing, like before you put a motor in, check your threads, make sure everything's threading good, or it's going to be nothing but a nightmare. You know, like these here, go ahead and check them out, blow them out, make sure that the bolts are working, because once you get it in the vehicle, you really don't want to be taking this stuff back out and having to mess with that. So make sure everything's threading good. So I think that's going to be the next step. I'm just going to clean these threads out, and I'm going to get a tap. I'm not for sure what that size is. We're going to try to clean those threads up on that side and that side. I can tell that they're kind of galled up from here, and we're going to get a hold of those, just clean them out a little bit. The rest of them were fine, and we'll just clean those up, and then we'll work on getting this other engine over and into place. But we shouldn't have any trouble with the alignment, but we may have a little bit but we're just going to set it back onto here once we get it kind of into place, and tried to slide it back. And I've also just took these completely out. If I had trouble, I just took them completely out of the way, put some blocks down here, some wooden blocks, and just fed it in that way as well. Okay, I've been prepping on this engine a little bit, and I've had the lovely job of switching this fuel injector rail over, because the one, when they took it out, they bent it, and they bent the spout that you see right here. That got bent, so I had to take everything off, and I also took the injectors because they're newer than the ones on the engine that was in there. So I had to switch them over. There's nothing to it, but it's just time consuming. The little clips and stuff. There's little clips that hold them on. You just pop those clips off of there and you just twist and pull them out. Now it would be a good idea to go ahead and replace the seals here. These are usually the ones that get in bad shape. I think I'm going to wait on that, but those do get bad in time. So had to take a vacuum this out clean, and then wipe it out the best I could. This is where the injector rail is going back in. Went ahead and put some good NGK plugs in here. The plugs that was in this engine were just horrible. So we've been doing that. It's kind of time consuming, but it's a lot easier out here than with it in the truck. So other than that, it's no big deal. So I'm just getting ready to set this into place. You really need your coil packs out of the way. It makes it a lot handier. But these will just put a little dab of oil on those things, and you should be able to just push them down in there without too much trouble. Just do the same thing on the other side there. Okay, so we just put the coil packs back in there and put the bolts back in the fuel rail here. And you can see it's got the two 8mm and the 10mm nuts holding the coil packs down. Just getting all those back into place. So it comes with the they cut the harnesses off in the salvage yard, but you could keep those for, you know, in case you need a pigtail or something. So I've just got them sewed over there. It's not a bad idea to hang on to them in case you need some parts. So there's not much else I need to do. I need to get the fan off the front, because I'm gonna have to put that other fan on anyways, but also keep it from getting damaged using that tool that I showed you earlier. Not gonna need this on here, so I'm gonna just pop that off when I spin it around here as well. This I don't need on here. I'll just take this off. This is in a Dakota, 2004 Dakota. Guess they have these. I think I've seen them in the Durangos too, but it's not really necessary in here. It just kind of more gets in the way than anything else. And then these things seize up, and you have to wind up ripping it off if you need to get to the exhaust manifold. So we're just going to go ahead and do a few more things here. We should be ready to start working this in. Like I said, check your threads in the back as well, and make sure that you're not gonna have a problem there. Okay, I don't know if I misspoke earlier. These big bolts that come through the bell housing here at these alignment pegs are 7/16/14. That's what I used a tap just to clean it up with. They were just a little bit messed up, but not bad. These big threads are a little bit more forgiving than the smaller threads are. So those there that you see right where the alignment peg is, those are the ones that I cleaned out a little bit. The rest of them were fine. Okay, there's this plate here that you should have. And it's a good thing that the replacement engine came with this, because this one didn't even have this piece, this spacer plate in there. You can see I didn't even really pay any attention to it till now. But this is supposed to be in there. So we just have to set it on. We get this lifted up, we'll set it back on here. Actually goes like this onto there, and the starter like goes through there. Okay, if you're unfortunate enough to have someone lose half your bolts, you're going to have to get you another 3/8/16. Now, if it's not the right length, like the case, this one's just a little bit longer So I'm just taking a couple washers. These do not go through. You don't want them going in there and bottoming out. It's not gonna tighten, not gonna do anything. So I put a couple washers on there. I just took a measurement because I know the thickness of the bell housing, and so I know about how much I'm supposed to have there. So I'm just making up the difference with a couple washers, because these are the right length, but the ones I found were just a little bit longer. And I keep an assortment in a bucket just for stuff like this, because you can spend a lot of money. I mean, if you're hunting down bolts and stuff all day long, you can, it adds up. So if you go to the salvage yard, definitely take the time when you remove something to keep the bolts and stuff, because they're just going to get thrown away anyways. Okay, I'm just going to show you where I had this tied to. Just double tied it up here to that part. And then we'll just tie it right back over here. And I'm also going to put that little spacer. Once I lift it up, I want to slip it around, even if I have to bend it a little bit, because I'm not taking the flywheel, the flex plate, to get it on there. Because the Dakota and Ram mounts different, there's going to be one of these that wasn't being used. The mount's different, so I'm having to run a M10 1.5 through there just to clean it up. And the other ones will be fine because they had bolts in them. And I'm going to have to do the same thing on the other side. You just find the one that didn't have a bolt in it and just run this one right here. One of these, I think it's this one. And it'll be real rusty because it was open and just, the rain, salt, everything getting in it. So I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit. So you got to think about this stuff where you put it in, because once you get in there, you're going to have a time trying to chase those threads out and getting a bolt in it. Okay, to show you, this is the Ram mounts, what they look like. And these are the ones that were on the Dakota. And the Durango would be different too. So really, though a lot of people don't think about it, but there's not much difference though. The engine is basically the same. You just got a few things that you have to swap over, mounts and stuff. As far as everything else goes, it's the same. Haven't seen any other difference on here other than the fan and the mounts, and that's about it. So everything else is pretty much the same. Okay, I've got this thing here still attached by Grant. I'm going to use it to kind of pull the engine where I need it. I noticed that the oil pan is messed up under here, so that's annoying, because I'm going to have to swap it over. I don't like it. I'll show you it's dented here, probably leaking. Looks like it got smacked in a few places there. So I'll be wanting to swap that over. But not just horrible, but the other one's in good shape. And it's leaking anyway. So we'll just swap that over. We're fixing to start working it in. Okay, make sure when you took it out that the torque converter didn't get spun a lot. So spin it and make sure it is seated. And put a little bit of, I want to put a little lithium grease where the dowels are going in, just so they'll go in smoothly. And here we are, we just had to get it up high enough again, and I'm just kind of keeping it from spinning. And we're going to make sure that we don't have any cables or anything down there where they don't need to be. These should be up out of the way. The wires should be out of the way. We don't want anything getting pinched or broken in here, or any cables getting snagged. So we're going to just carefully start working it back in here. Get some of these cables up out of the way. So we got plenty of room here. Okay, and we got it about right here. We can actually start lowering it now. And still clear everything up here in the front. Okay, and you have to just ease it down, and then of course as you lower it, it's going to want to go shift to the back more, so you got to watch it back here. And ideally we're going to get it down low enough where we can get it back on the mounts. We're just going to slowly lower it. Watch what we're doing. We definitely don't want to break anything. And you know, because we don't just have all kinds of clearance, we got stuff up here we can hit too. But we just want to make sure we're not going to be hitting anything in here, but we got room up here, and we're just slowly easing her down in there. Okay, we're getting it there. The load's like, you know, not really balanced perfectly. It's higher in the back than it is in the front, but we're just working it down close to where the mounts need to be, and then we'll worry about sliding it back into the transmission. See, I'm still a little bit off up here. I need to go back some. It'll want to try to hang up here and there too, so you got to keep an eye on it. But we're almost there. Okay, these mounts usually wind up getting in the way. There's a big long 18mm nut and bolt. Got to hold it on one side, break it loose on the other. I just took that mount, pushed it back up because it's going to have to go back on. I just got it out of the way because the engine's hanging up on it and it's not allowing me any slack to move it where I need to move it. This engine is tilting forward. What I've done, I put a couple just little small pieces of 2x4 for the oil pan to hit on, just so the front of this is not hitting these power steering lines here. And hopefully when I drop it on that, it'll tilt on back here. So we're getting ready to just lower it down a little bit here. Okay, so we took this mount completely out over here because it wasn't letting me have slack. So usually I just take these completely out, and that's probably why, because it just makes it difficult when trying to mate this transmission up. So I've got this block up here on the crank, and it's just to kind of keep it off these lines, and to also because it's off, the weight's more tilted to the front, it's allowed me to tilt it back. So I kind of got it pushed where I need it. I'm going to go ahead and lower it now, but yeah, with the mounts in there, it doesn't give you any slack. I mean, if it's just a little bit off, it makes it more difficult. So just better off just taking them completely out. This one over here is really not in the way now, but it's easier. It's why I usually just have them completely out when doing this. Okay, you can see that we've got it close here, and you can shift the transmission a little bit. The first thing we want to do, as you see that alignment, we want to get that in to where it goes there. I want to try to start the bolt that goes right below that. You can see that on each side. Now it's a little bit farther off over here, but if we can just get it, just kind of move it by hand a little bit to kind of work it in place at this point, or it's going to move a lot on you. And we're a little bit far back, as you can see, but we can always slide it back, and once the bolts get started and we get the alignment pins, it'll pull it right on up. You can see I've got a 2x4, a piece of 3/4 there, and that's working out about right on my pan. So anyways, we're going to as I said, just all you can do is just work with it and wiggle it around till you get everything lining up good, because it gets, you know, kind of difficult to align, but it's not too bad. It's just time consuming. We're going to start these bolts here where the alignment pins are first, or at least we're going to try to, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're putting these big 7/16 bolts in first.
Now I just want to show you that it's not all the way up, but you should be able to start this one by hand. And if you can't start it by hand, or it's not going very easy, then stop. You're going to mess the threads up. I don't have this side on. As you can see, it's tilted a little bit this way, and it's not exactly where it needs to be there. It needs to come down, but with this one finger tightened in here, it's going to hold it. It's going to keep this side from coming loose. So if I can get one bolt, I can fiddle with this and get this other one. And once I get these two with the dowel pin started, I know that the nub on the torque converter is going to line up and everything else should line up. Of course, I kind of get everything loose before I go to torquing them down, but anyways, we're just about there. We just need to come, as you can see, we need to come down a little bit on this side. So if I can't just pull it down or push the transmission up, so you can move this by hand quite a bit. You can see that. So, because once you get this close, you don't want to go moving it a whole bunch, or you're going to be starting all over. So anyways, I'm just going to pull down, push up on this, whatever I need to do, get this other bolt. It's going to be going right in there, and we're going to get that started by hand, and then we're home free from there. Okay, there you go. I grabbed a hold of this exhaust manifold and pulled down on the engine just to twist it. That's what I needed to do, and I got that hand tightened. I'll just finger tighten it on down. So now we're going to go ahead and get us a wrench, and we'll just snug, and it'll pull this on up here. We're going to make sure that it's going easily, and make sure that nothing's in a bind, and then we'll work on getting those difficult bolts, the 4 bolts that go up around the top up there, and we're going to Loctite those as we're putting those in as well with some medium Loctite. But we're home free now, and this wasn't too hard. It just been a while since I've done this on one of these trucks, and these mounts, really, this one over here I didn't have to take out, I just pushed it up, but it's better just to take them out of the way. I had this one over here I completely removed. Now, one thing about it, once I get this all bolted up, I'm going to have to lift this engine up some in order to get that mount back into place over there, but that's no big deal. And I'll probably start zipping this oil pan off while I'm at it. I'll get it lifted up a little bit just to make it a little easier. But it's not just terrible, but it's been hit here and here, and I'm worried that it may start leaking, and who knows, may have even damaged the pickup tube in there, I don't know. But it's leaking around it anyway, so I'm just going to yank it off of there and put the other one on since it's in better shape. Okay, I'm using a little medium Loctite on these before going up in the top. Just want to show you how I got these here started. And you can thread these by hand over here, but I had to come up through here, reach over this with my hand. Got the first one very easy. Now the other one that's not so easy, that you're going to have a little bit of fun with, goes through the transmission dipstick. Okay, there's like a bracket. Can't really see it from here, but there's a hole in the bracket for the transmission dipstick that goes through that and into that top difficult part of the transmission. And there's no way to do it other than just filling and coming up through here with your arm. And to get it started at least, and I'm going to get back there with my extension and torque these down to about 35 foot-pounds. But to get it started at least, it's, you know, unless you stick it on the end of your socket, it's going to be hard. So that's the most difficult. I'm just fixing to get over here on this other side and get those. But this one here and that one up top, I just threaded them in by hand a little bit, and I'll finish torquing them. This one over here, the lower one's not too bad. It's just that very top one. Okay, so over on the driver's side, I just got through putting these in. Now remember, you got a bracket here that goes through, so make sure to put your bolts through that, and also the one up top. So it's difficult to show you that one, but you can reach these. I threaded these all the way down by hand, put Loctite on them. We do not want these vibrating loose. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to get my swivel extension. We'll get back here. I'm going to torque these down, these 4 top ones here, and I think we'll see about getting the exhaust. I was going to change the oil pan out, but I just don't know for now. I may get a gasket and do it later. I kind of want to just get this thing together and get it going. So if it'll hold oil, I may go ahead and go with it for now. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and torque those down, and I think we'll get the exhaust, and then we'll work on getting this piece down here in. And well, actually I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to have to get our torque converter, some medium Loctite on those, and get those torqued down as well. So we'll get these top ones and then we'll get on the torque converter. Okay, I know when I was taking these out back here, I was saying to use a swivel, but it's actually easier to put them back in just using the straight without the swivel, and getting back here with a flashlight or whatever you can see. You got kind of wires sitting down there, and you have to push them up with your extension a little bit, but you can get back here with a long 3.5 foot extension, and you can see where you're going down there, believe it or not, and get a hold of it and get it torqued. I just torqued those top ones to 35 foot-pounds and had Loctite on them as well. And I'm going to go ahead and take the ones out that had the dowels one at a time. I'm going to put some Loctite on them as well and put those back in before I go to working on the torque converter nuts. Okay, so we're getting ready to do the torque converter here, and we're just going to put some Loctite on these and get them into place. We're going to need to get our socket back onto the crank up here, so we're able to turn that while we're underneath lining these up. Okay, so that's a 21, and we're using a 14 to tighten these. Okay, and again, we had the torque converter just in the same position, but we had to turn the flex plate just enough with our wrench to get it to line up so we can go ahead and start our first one. I usually like to just put the Loctite, and I don't get them real tight until I got them all in and made sure they're aligned. Just kind of tighten them down a little bit and rotate it and snug them all at once. And then I'll torque them about 25 foot-pounds. Okay, we went through and double checked our torque converter. We snugged them a couple times. I think we're going to go ahead at this point. We've got enough tight, and we're going to put these mounts back into place, and I'm going to probably have to lift it up, and then I can get this lift completely out of my way here, but I may have to lift it up to get this one back in over here. We'll see. But we got it setting over here. It's got a big bolt goes through there. These mounts are pretty tough. I think I've seen any of these that's really failed, but I guess they can. Okay, and I'm just finger tightening these a little bit, and then I'm going to hop over here to this side and start working this mount into place as well. Okay, so I've just set the engine onto the mounts here. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the 18 ring. You got to hold it with a wrench and then tighten it from the front. back or whichever way it's oriented. Both of mine are facing the front now. But I Loctited all those and torqued them to like 45 foot-pounds. Now, when you're getting to a lot of these, if you want to torque them, you have to use swivels and various stuff to get in there. Sometimes it's hard to get to, or you can just get them really tight with a small 3/8 and a cheater pipe. Either way it works. So anyways, I'm going to tighten those down. Okay, I didn't notice this till I was pulling the dipstick, but the oil pan may be, for whatever reason, different. So I may be having to swap that anyway. I think the next thing we're going to go ahead, we'll put this power steering pump on and get these straps out of the way. But looks like I'm going to be working on removing that oil pan anyway, so there's no need in me hooking up the brace underneath, because the dipsticks were different lengths when I pulled them out, and I got to looking at it, and it looks like that this pan's a little bit different, so we'll have to swap that over. It needs to be cleaned out anyway, so I just didn't feel like doing it. So we'll have to work on doing that. I think, like I said, next time I'm going to put the power steering pump on. It's going to get dark anyways, and I'm not going to get much else done here today. Okay, and all we have is these 3 bolts. We're just fastening to the front of the head. Just rotate the wheel. And because I didn't disconnect this, I won't have to fool with any of this stuff. I'm just bolting it back up, and it's a done deal. Let's snug these back down. Don't get very carried away with. These are not very big bolts. And you strip that aluminum. Okay, we're just going to work this back up into place, get our compressor setting back up here, and just sticking this back over where it goes. Okay, and just set your grommets back in place that are on the bottom down here first, and then you can work the bolt up into there. We just got to cut that setting just like that. Okay, and just snap your line right back on here. Said these do have some flex to them, which enables you to move it out of the way without having to evacuate it. And I'm just getting ready to put that bolt right back in there at 13 millimeter. And we're going to reconnect this here, and then reconnect our fan. And yours will probably have a locking tab. Mine all broke off. Okay, this little piece in the back makes it snug. If you'll take and tap that with a hammer and a bolt or something, just knock it back a little bit, it'll slide on real easy. Okay, just to show you what I'm working on, it's dark out here, but we're going to be taking this oil pan off. I really didn't know these were that much different, but I guess they are. I mean, it would work, I guess, but because it's still a 4.7 liter, but they're different nevertheless. And this one is kind of banged up, so we're going to work on it. See, with this piece out, it's no problem. We can get this out of here pretty easy. We're just going to go around the perimeter. We've got all these 10 millimeters, and I'm just using this. And there's a few places back in behind the cross member that are a little bit, they really ain't hard to get to, but you just got to get back behind that. But I'm just going to work on doing that, taking all these off around the perimeter, and then we'll get a putty knife and start prying it loose. Okay, so I just now got all of these 10 millimeters around the perimeter and everything. And so we got all those out. And what we're going to do is take a putty knife. Just got a 2-inch putty knife. We're going to work it in between the gasket and the pan, not the gasket and the motor. The gasket and the pan. We want it to go under the gasket, because the gasket is bolted to the motor, part of the motor there. So you're going to have to get, it's like glued, and you have to go all the way around with this putty knife, unless you know an easier way to break it loose, because it's usually stuck, RTV'd and everything else, so it doesn't come loose. And it just has to be, you either have to cut it loose or do like I do with the putty knife and go all the way around it until you get it loose. Now, if you start trying to pry on it too soon, you're going to bend your oil pan. So you want to use the putty knife so you're not gouging it and bending it and tearing it up. Just go around it, cut that seal loose, because I mean, it is not coming off there. You could take all those bolts and there's no way that thing would come off there, because it's like really glued. So, and it's really amazing the way that these little small oil pan bolts get tightened down to the factory, because it's no wonder that they get stripped out. It's way too tight. So anyways, I'm going to do this. Got to go all the way around it, and then we'll work on popping it off of here and get some cardboard or something down, because it'll just sit here and drip, make a big old mess. Okay, just to show you where we're at here. Now, we've worked that 2-inch putty knife all the way down. I mean, all the way down to where it was freely, you could slide it all the way down, and it took about 15 minutes. And we come down here, we cut it all the way down, and then even as far as I could get, pushing the knife in that way, the same way I've got it right there, where it just left that little bit in the middle. So it's getting ready to come off here. I've got some cardboard down to kind of catch the drips here. Okay, so getting it out, it just slides right back. Just back out the back there, just drop it down, slide it out of the way. There's the gasket. Now the pickup tube here may very well be different as well for the ram. I don't know, I'll find out. But I've got to take it loose anyway, because the gasket pan bolts down here, and it's all one big piece. So we got to take these 13s. This looks really dirty in here too. Let's see what we got up here. We've got a bolt right here for this pickup tube, another 13, so we got to get that. And then we've got another one here. I think they're 13s. I'll find out in a minute. We got to get those out of the way for the pickup tube before we can even get the rest of this off. That's bolting all this down, and then we'll see. I believe that's all that holds this. Said it's been a little bit. So we're just going to basically remove these two bolts, and then the one right back here for the pickup tube, and then the one right here, right in here, and that's got an O-ring that goes up in there too. It'll kind of give that a tug. Okay, I just got the pickup tube down. It's there, and this is a good opportunity to clean all this stuff up when you're doing this gasket, and clean your oil pan out really well. You get all that black tarry stuff out of there. I'm going to work on getting my putty knife. This thing usually doesn't give too much trouble coming out. Once those bolts have been removed, it usually will pop down without too much difficulty. Okay, so there's that down. I just give it a little pull and it came loose. So we just got to clean up the surface there a little bit. And they're kind of proud of these gaskets for whatever reason. They're like $65 at the parts stores. Usually I'll just take and reseal them because they don't last long anyways. I'll just put RTV on both sides and stick them back up there. But I don't know, I'm undecided because I don't want to wait that long for the RTV to set. I usually have to let it cure 24 hours. I don't know if I feel like waiting that long. So we'll see. But anyway, there's a look at it out. So there's not a whole lot to cleaning this up, but it looks really dirty, like somebody wasn't changing their oil. But this is a low mileage engine with like 100,000 miles on it, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just how it's maintained. So we're just we'll clean that surface up and figure out what we're going to do about sealing this. We're going to have to get over here on the other one and do the same thing, but you can see how easily this comes out when you got this piece out. You know, if you were just doing your oil pan, you'd have to remove this piece here and this cross member before you ever thought about doing anything. But anyways, I'm just going to do the very same thing to the engine over here, and we're going to get that. Well, I don't need this piece off the other engine, but I need that oil pan, so we're going to get that off of there and we'll get it swapped over here. Okay, so as far as the pickup tubes go, they are the same. I took one out and compared it. So the oil pan's the only thing different. Otherwise, everything's the same on the engine. And you could probably make do with the oil pan if you didn't want to change it. So I'm just going to clean this stuff up a bit. Okay, I'm just using some of this purple cleaner and a brush, just scrubbing this thing up. And I said this is a good opportunity doing this gasket stuff to get all this dirt and stuff out of here, because you go to, you know, putting oil in here and it just mixes with all this nastiness in here, and it's, before you know it, it's back black again. Clean this up real good and it'll stay clean. And I just cleaned up that pickup tube, and I'm going to see about getting another gasket and putting on here, I guess, and try to get this done. Okay, so went ahead and we got a oil pan gasket, and it was like $65 for this. And while I was at it, I went ahead and got another oil plug. If you want to replace it, they've got these in the store there, and you can just get one. It's got a seal on it. You see this one, it was working, but you can see like it's all mashed up and you can barely get a hold of the bolt, and just didn't like it. So I got another one that was nice, and it's got a little rubber seal on it, much easier to get a hold of. So those are like $3. You can get one of those, but it's a M14 1.5, and we've got this stuff cleaned up and ready to go in. And we're just going to go ahead and take I've done cleaned underneath the engine. We're going to go ahead and get this out and work it up into place with the oil pickup. Okay, and this is what this looks like new. And I really like these seals. But I really like Felpro. They do a good job. But they are pricey. So what I'm going to do, it comes with a little seal for the pickup tube, but one that's on there is fine, and they're usually better. I'm going to put a little clean oil around this so it's not sticking if I have to get it back off there again. I'm going to do that on both sides so it's not just sticking so bad when it gets bolted up there. But we're going to go ahead and get this under the truck here. Okay, and we're fixing to work this up into place, and we have to do the pickup tube and this at the same time, because this pickup tube bolts it up here. So we just kind of get them both together and we get the pickup tube started into where it goes, and then we get these other little nuts started on here. So but this thing seals itself. It's got a good silicone gasket on there, and ideally if you get some clean oil on there, it usually doesn't stick like when coming off of here, because that makes it a lot more difficult. So we're just going to work it up into place here and get this all snugged up here. Okay, so there's some times that you wish you had about 3 sets of hands, and this is one of those times, but I just kind of set this one up here on the pickup tube, and then we started the other ones. They're just loosely started while I was holding this whole thing with my hand, and now I'm just getting ready to snug this end of this pickup tube down here. Now another thing about this is when we get all this fastened down, this oil pan gasket is going to be pretty snug, so we want to make absolutely sure that all these holes are aligning perfectly, because if we don't, we're going to have problems when we go to putting our oil pan on here. So you just want to look every one of these things over and make absolutely sure that all these are lining up perfectly before you snug all these 13 millimeters down here. So I've got the end of the pickup tube tightened. I'm just getting ready. I'm going to work on these other ones up here. Like I said, I'm going to push this because it does have a little movement to it, as you can see. So if you fasten it and it's over here, that's not going to be good. So we have to make sure this thing is perfectly aligned before we snug these down. Okay, so the pickup tube, the 13s are snugged down and everything appears to be lined up pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and wiggle this oil pan. And like I said, I've put a clean coat of oil on the other side of this seal. Do the same thing to this side, so it's not just sticking to it, because this is a self-sealing, these grooves, and they seal off when you go to tighten it down, and they work really well. They just don't hold up forever. But we'll only tighten this probably like 89 to 96 inch-pounds. I never tighten them that much. They're little bitty bolts, and it's easy to strip them out, so we'll probably only go like 89 inch-pounds on this. Okay, and here we are. We're just going to be working it in from the back and pushing it forward here, and no big deal. We'll start putting these little bitty bolts back in here, these 10 millimeters. Okay, all I've done is just got one started and held the other in and started it so it wasn't bending or anything. So I had a couple of them handy, and we're just gonna get them all put into place. So we can't even get this piece in, this brace in, until we get this here done. So just wanted to get this done tonight, so I'm not burning daylight messing with this tomorrow. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish putting all of these in, and you can see how easily this goes into place. Fits in here very easily to get in and out when you got this piece out and this cross member out of the way. It's very easy to get in here. Not a problem getting to any of this. So anyway, we're going to go ahead at this point That's where the studded bolt goes for these right here to clip onto, it looks like. It wasn't on there before, but I'm going to be sure to put that there. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in now. Okay, we've got them all snugged up, and we're just doing a crisscross pattern here. And like anything else, we're going to start in the middle and work our way to the outer edges. So we're going to go here, then we come over to this side, go here, then we'll move back, and then we'll come over to the other side, and then we'll come up to here. We'll just do a zigzag pattern until we get all the way out to the ends. And I'm just going to go through, and we're torquing them to 89 inch-pounds. Now, if yours happens to be stripped because somebody got them too tight, your alternative is going to be to use RTV. You're just going to have to RTV both sides of the seal and put it in place, get it as tight as you can get it, just finger tighten it, let it set up for a good 24 hours, and snug it a little more as much as you can, just not that much, but within 89 inch-pounds, or if it's stripped, just get whatever you can, because the RTV will seal it even without being tight. And if you just let it set on there and cure out, even with them just finger tight, that RTV will stop it from leaking. Okay, so out of all these, I only had one here that I couldn't get 89 inch-pounds on, and that's why you don't over tighten them. These are like so tiny and so easy to strip. So the only option is if you wanted to drill it and go a size bigger, but I'm not doing all that. I would rather go ahead and just RTV it if it leaks than to have to do all that. But that's not too bad. I've seen them way worse. So anyways, we got this all sealed up, and we'll see about getting some oil in it and getting us another oil filter on here. Okay, I have a 14 millimeter, and I got a little packet of anti-seize I'm going to put on these. Just a little dab on these exhaust manifold bolts. And I'm just getting ready to push this back up in here. And if you don't have, these things are really bad to rust off. Probably some of the first ones I've seen that weren't rusted and broken. But if you don't have these, you're going to have to hold it with a wrench from the other side. But it's really easier to get you some of these or make you something to hold it still, because it's such a pain to have to hold it while you're tightening it. So I'm just going to slip these up through the top, and it's a little easier if you come through the fender well, but I've got the fender wells on, and I'm just going to reach up here and slip it in. It doesn't take much to hold these things. So I'm going to slip the other one in. We'll push this collar up and into place, if you can see that up there. And you can also get a jack stand back here and hold this up a little bit. If it's heavy, you can push this up into place and hold it with the jack stand to get it so you're not having to just pick it up and get it started. So you can see where I'm going up there. And I'm just slipping on those bolts, and then I'll slip the collar up. And that rounded part just is going to go into the flange, centered up as best you can get it, and you just snug it down. They just don't have to be terrible tight, but just snug them down really good. And what I like to do is get one side on, kind of get the bolt started, and then just get on the other side and get it on and get it started, and then I'll tighten them at the same time. Make sure I get them both kind of centered up on that rounded part. Okay, this may help the next person out. I was realizing that this side over here looked the same. I guess I looked at one side, but I didn't look at both. And this one here is matching up, but this one over here is not the same. It's supposed to have more of a curve coming down, and it's not enough. So you can see the one over there, and you can see how it comes down a little more, and I just didn't notice it. You know, I should have paid attention when I was taking that engine out, but I didn't notice it. I was thinking they were the same, but this side here is different. This one over here is matching up just fine. So that's the only other difference I found. So I'll need to get that off there, and of course I'll have to get a gasket and put on there since I'm disturbing this. So anyways, it's not too big of a deal, but it's going to make it easier to take this fender well out, so I'm probably going to have to do that. Okay, so we got this one off, and just to help somebody else out, these two up here in the front are the 13s. There's a couple of 13s look like that, and the rest of them are going to be 10s. But for whatever reason, these two up here are 13s. Now the scariest part about it is when you go to removing these things, you don't know if they've been stripped or the threads messed up, so that's always scary when putting them back, because you need to get them back and torque down. So this one came off fine, but we'll see how it's going to go in the vehicle, and this is the one I need, so I'll have to get a gasket. You know, you can't reuse these things. It'll never seal, and then you'll be wishing that you had of. But I'm gonna see if I can't get to what I can here. I got the ones in the front here. I'm gonna try to get as many as I can, but I think I'm gonna have to get that fender out. It's gonna be too difficult, but I'll see what I can do. Okay, believe it or not, with this front stuff out of the way, I was able just to reach and get every single one of these from the front and pull the exhaust manifold right through here. So we'll clean that up just a little bit. The surface, got these setting. You can clearly see the problem with setting here. Like this one, it has a little bit more of an extension, but that other side surprisingly is the same. So it matches right up. So we're just gonna get another gasket and clean the surface that up a little bit and get another gasket on there and put it back into place. It's not real easy to get to the back ones doing it this way, but I got to them. It wasn't that bad. I don't know if yours will have these weird sizes. Like I had a 12 in the back, I had a 13. So I thought on this one here, they were like, the front ones were 13s and then all the rest of them were 10s. So who knows, if you run into that, you may have some oddball size on yours too. Okay, I'm just using a little flat sanding block to go over this surface to make sure there's no anything sticking up, and just wipe it off. And we've got some more gaskets here. This is the part number, and just going to need one of them, but you definitely don't want to put an old one back on. You'll have nothing but trouble. Okay, we went through and torqued these to 18 foot-pounds. It's not a crazy amount of torque, starting in the center, going in a zigzag pattern, working your way out to the ends. I just checked and double checked them. Okay, so we're just picking up where we left off, taking a little dab of this anti-seize and putting in these. As I feed it up into place, I've just centered it, pushed it up by hand. I'm going to go over here and get one started on this side, and then we'll get the other one. I just kind of got this holding it here so I don't have to hold it up. So we're going to go over to that other side and get it started over there. And so just put you a little dab of this and it'll make it easier the next time that you have to work on it. Just very easy to get this into place. So okay, so just over here on this side, and I was pushing that up, centering it as I was tightening these. You see I got the top one, just making sure that it's nice and into place. And now I'm going to go back over here and just get the last one on there. Okay, I'm just verifying on this side that it is centered up on that rounded part good. Now once you've kind of verified that it's in place, then you can go ahead and start snugging them up and just tighten each side at the same time, or I mean each nut, you know, tighten a little on one side and then go to the other one on the right and then do the same on the other side, so you're getting equal pressure. And I don't know the torque right offhand, but it doesn't have to be just terrible tight. Just snug them down so they feel snug. Okay, if you get yourself a long 2-foot extension, it makes easy work of these over here too. Okay, and those are tight as well. Like I said, a 2-foot extension makes it real easy. We're going to go ahead, I think, and get this little brace in here that has the 8 bolts. Looks like I've got a dirt dauber nest in here I'm going to have to clean out before I get started. So you can't catch everything, but and I've had to tap several holes on this engine. Well, I had to clean the threads up anyways, but that's just common. If you're going to be doing an engine swap, get you either a cheap tap set or get you a few taps as you need. I find that I use the M10 1.5 a lot, 3/8 16s a lot. Just depends. But anyways, we're going to work on getting this piece in. There's nothing to it. And then I think we'll get this starter back in over here. I've just got it kind of tucked over here out of the way right now. And then we'll hop back up top. I think that's everything that we need to work on down here. We got this brace, but we don't have to put it in just quite yet. I want to kind of test the engine out and check for leaks and all that good stuff before we get everything on here. Okay, we got all our 8 bolts. And I even found supposed to be, I think, 8, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Yeah, I found an extra one. It's a good thing about keeping yourself a bucket of bolts around, because it can really be time consuming running back and forth to the store to get bolts, and it adds up too. So we're going to put this up here. I've got some medium blue Loctite we're going to put on each one of these, and these 15mm bolts, and we're going to just start working this in. And said it's just a time consuming piece, but it's not real difficult. You got to work it around these lines here first before you can feed it into place. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to need my other hand. Okay, so after getting this piece up here into place, I realized that these bolts are not going to go whatsoever. It could be because it was in a Dakota or whatever. It's got a different hookup, and probably the reason there's dirt daubers and everything else in it. So these 4 here I'm going to have to clean out. I believe these are the M10 1.5s. So I'm going to have to go through each of these. And like I said, you do stuff like this all the time, even on exactly the same engine. It's just stuff gets rusty sitting out on the yards and stuff. So we're going to have to do that before we can go any farther. But these over here, the transmission should be fine because they were bolted up previously, so I don't have to worry about those. But these 4 we're going to have to go through. Okay, just to show you the fun stuff I've been working on here, I've had to go through all 4 of these. If you can see, that's a tap going through there. Had to do all 4 of those like that. And 3 of them were extremely difficult. It was almost like just tapping a fresh hole. So this is the stuff I run into all the time. And you can see there ain't no room to get in there with a tap handle and do nothing, so I'm just using a little pressing. And when you're doing these taps, you really got to work it back and forth, slow. if you snap it off in there, you're going to be hating life. So it's a M10 1.5, and I'm just now getting these, and hopefully I'll be able to get these to thread in here without no problems now. Okay, I'm just putting some medium Loctite on each one of these as we're working them in here, and I like to just try to get them all, you know, hand tight and pretty much make sure everything's lined up good before we go to snugging them down. And so I've got these two in. We'll tighten these or torque them first, and then we'll put this one here in because it makes it hard to get to that one. Okay, we've got all these in. I'm just under here going 35 foot-pounds with my torque wrench, and we'll be all finished up with this piece here. Okay, we're just working the starter back into place. I want to put a little medium Loctite on these, and I didn't even disconnect anything on it. We just need to tighten it up. Okay, I went ahead and torqued those to 35 foot-pounds, and I think we're going to move back up top here now and see what we need to do. Okay, I'm just getting ready to start hooking up these coil packs and injectors. You can see I got them all marked and stuff here. We do have a pipe thing that goes in the back where these little red spouts are, and we'll need to get that. You see it on both sides, a little T-shaped vacuum line, but just going to start working on connecting these back where they go. Okay, we got our connections here, injectors, coil packs, fairly easy, just routing it through here. The AC connector, the other AC connector, and we hook the wire down onto this stud and back down here, this cam sensor, just like that. And we're just going to come over on the other side. Well, we may go ahead and get our cables routed back in where they go. We've got a couple of them here. I'm not seeing the other one. I need to find it. Okay. These go back into here, but I believe I need to get it below this one. It's not looking right. Okay, and there those are wrapped back around there, and that one just locks in that little thing there. We'll just pull this back, and that just slips right back on there. Should hear it snap on. We're just going to flip this back over and reattach this just like that. Now we've got those connected. Make sure our vacuums are connected. We're going to go ahead and we'll get our wire harness pulled up here, and we'll start connecting this side. We're just going to do the same thing, just connect our coil packs and injectors. Okay, so we got these connected, and I've got to get the fuel connected. I was trying to determine if that went under or over. I think it went over. We can just push that on there. These just go right up here to our idle, air, and our throttle. We'll just reconnect those, and we'll pop this fuel line back on. Now this goes kind of under here as you're popping that, and then that snaps on to hold it in place, just like that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this vacuum tube. This pushes on to one of these studs here to hold it in place.
just like that. And then these are pretty self-explanatory. We just got this that goes on here, and then the cap, and then this goes right here. So it's just a matter of getting this stuff reconnected. Okay, so we're just taking this and hooking up our oil sensor down here. Just make sure that stays back out of the way. Okay, we got our ground wire here that we're hooking up, and we're just coming right back down here and just kind of going over the top of this. Make sure we have slack. Okay, so we got our belt back on, we got our lower hose on, and we've got majority of all of our wires and stuff. We do have a few vacuums that we got to deal with. We need to get these hoses here back on as well. Got them thrown back up here. I think we'll work on hooking them up. Okay, there's a vacuum, goes from here around to the back here. You can barely see it, but I was just hooking that up, and I think I'm ready. I can go ahead and put my intake, put them up here. Okay, and I'm not gonna bolt all this down just yet. I just connected that air sensor back there, and I think we're gonna go ahead and try to start getting the radiator and everything back into place here. Try to get it where we can get some coolant in it. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, I gotta get this blade tightened back down. Remember the tool showed you earlier, the piece of angle iron tool. Just gonna hold it, take my big crescent cheater pipe, go clockwise and just snug it down real good. Okay, we're just setting it up in place. Got one bolt in it here, so you got plenty of room to work it in up here. Don't get unplugged this windshield wiper hose. I'll have to plug that back in, and then those connectors right there. So like I said, you got plenty of room just to work it back on. I didn't take any of this other stuff off, and I have to also work on putting back on the transmission cooler and stuff, and this actually has to go up. I need to get these lines up, back up here. They're below it right now. Okay, there we got them around there right, and we get the 10 millimeters back in here as well. Okay, so I just finished putting the power steering cooler bolts back in. Right, so we're going to go ahead and I think connect the hose over here. We're just going to tighten that up next, and then we'll work on getting the top hose. Okay, so we're just taking a 8 millimeter, snugging these up. We've got it in a position where we want it. Okay, got our top clamp. Getting ready to set this bottle. Just goes right back in them slots. Bolt it down. Got 3 screws. And we'll put that back on there. Okay, we got our clamp back on the back of our coolant bottle. I got this all bolted down. Okay, I'm just getting some oil in it and fixing to start putting some coolant in here. And then we're going to be ready to fire this thing up and see what it's going to do. You can see there's not a whole lot once you get you know, the motor bolted in. There's not a whole lot to do as far as getting it reconnected with just the sensors and the coil packs and stuff. Okay, and right now I'm just putting a jug of concentrated and a jug of distilled water, and we'll just keep doing that till we get it full. Okay, so I've done a check over, and we got coolant in it, we got the oil in it, and got the negative cable hooked back up, and we're fixing to try it out. Okay, here we got it cranked up with just a few cranks there, and we've got it running. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff burning off and everything, but I'm going to check it for leaks. It's kind of got a little bit of a funky idle right now, but we're going to check it for leaks and everything, and get the rest of this put together so we can get it tested out, take it down the road. It already sounds really good though for just firing this thing up. Okay, I just putting the front brace back on here, putting the little rubber grommets and the 13s that go into here, and then I put that back where I had my marks, and if I have to adjust it I can take it back loose. Okay, I'm getting the bumper on, just slipping those bolts through, and don't forget the connection for the fog lamps down there. And we're just fixing to get these bolted down. Okay, so we just finished with the front, and we got our air box back on. All the bands are snugged up. So I'm going to go ahead and at this point we're going to take it for a test drive down the road and see how it's doing. Okay, so I run it down the road and it sounded really good and smooth, lots of power, and it's definitely a big difference from what I had in there. So it sounded really good and everything has went pretty smooth. And so that's going to do it for this video. I don't know if I mentioned, but I got new coolant hoses and everything when I went back on here, lower and upper, and I may see about replacing those for the heater hoses as well. But anyways, it sounds really good. It all went smooth, and I'm happy with it. So that's going to conclude this video. If you found it helpful, please give the video a like. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thank you for watching.